Welcome to Bciu 106. We're going to go over breaking news, what to do, when to do it, and a basic plan. Located in this handout are what we will go over for individual staff and what they are responsible for. So first thing we need to do is really define breaking news, what it is for us, and how we want to move forward. So in general, breaking news for us typically involves death. If there's a murder, if there's a wreck with an accident, and really anything that affects how people live their daily lives. When the whole town iced over and people couldn't go anywhere, when there's road closures, when there's wrecks, those are the kinds of things that are big breaking news for us. Any questions on what we would consider breaking news? And I would say if you ever have a question, bounce it off your superior. Amy, of course, is always there to answer what breaking news is, but but just make sure that you know that. So during your shift, the first responsibility during anybody's shift is that they need to know who the breaking news editor is. This is the person with our very fancy Utah-made breaking news sign. So
it's ghetto fabulous. The sign on a stick.
It's obviously very large. Trent, if you guys want to create something, I don't think that you're dialed in on the visuals, but it's a giant sign that says breaking news. And if you guys want to create one over there, that would be great so that you also, I mean, typically you are the editor. But, you know, when you're not there, if you guys want to know who the go-to person is, that would probably be good. So during any shift, you need to... What was that?
The no-tea hat. The no-tea hat would do it.
That sounds great. So first thing, you always have to know who the breaking news editor is on your shift. And for most of you in this room, it might be you. You editors. You. So what are our goals with breaking news? Our goals are to respond very quickly, ideally posted within 10 minutes of us knowing about the incident, whatever it is. We want to constantly update. We want to have accurate and precise information. We want to build our story online as the event unfolds in real time. So, you know, if the wreck got cleared and people can get home, we want that up as soon as we humanly can. And then we want to be able to deliver that news to our audience via multiple platforms with constant updates. So that's, you know, when I talk about multiple platforms, that's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's our website. So we're just going to go over this one by one. Shout as you have questions. You're pretty much the only one who would be the reporter. You get 2 roles. Lucky you. So if you're the reporter, first thing is to go. Head out to the scene. We hear something on the scanner. It sounds bad. Go, go, go. That said, know who your team is. You should know who your breaking news editor is when you're just in the building. Know who the photographer is that we're going to try to get out there. Make sure you tweet from the scene, and make sure all of your tweets have at Durango Herald on them, or at Cortez or Journal Co, or at, well, Pine River Times doesn't really tweet. So, whoever the first person on the scene is, they need to take a photo, and they need to file 3 sentences of what they see to the breaking news editor. You and the breaking news editor can decide if that's going to be an email or if that's just going to be a call. But what that needs to be is, I'm here. There are 13 ambulances on scene, 6 cop cars. The road is shut down. I can't see how far it's shut down for, but it's at least a mile from the way, you know, what I saw when I came in. That's enough when you get to the scene. We'll provide more information as we get back. And then you also, during that phone call, need to set up a timeline with your breaking news editor about when you'll next be in contact. So say, hey, if I have anything new, I'll call you. If not, I'll call you in 15 minutes. Just constant checking in so that you guys are both on the same page and it's not like, oh, it's been 45 minutes. Where is Shane? Is he on his way back? We don't know, you know, so just make sure we're talking in. If you interview a PIO or on-scene coordinator, make sure you get audio tape at that interview so that photographers can use that as audio overlay. And I'm going to go over that a little bit. Oh, I had asked Shane and Jerry to be here, so they're not. We'll go over that in a little bit. I'm going to walk you through how I'm doing it with my phone right now and how I do it in here because it's pretty darn easy and sweet and the audio is good quality. All right, so if you're the reporter, when you get back to the office, you need to determine with the breaking news editor if you guys are going to continue to update that asset that was originally created, or if you're going to write if you should create a new asset, or if you should update the one that's previously been going. You write your story, you put it in first edit status, and let that breaking news editor know it's ready. And then every time you update that story after it's published, you need to add write through on it. So you'll change the slug every time. That's something that we're not real great about doing right now. We need to make sure that we are moving forward just so we know where we're at. If you're the breaking news editor, and that's most of you probably in this room, or we'll have some piece of this perhaps, you'll be responsible for creating that story package in Saxatech. I would say create it as soon as your team's headed out to the scene so that you have it open and ready to go. You'll work closely with the reporter and photographer to make sure that the communication is happening. That communication really falls on that breaking news editor to maintain. So if Mark is a breaking news editor and it's 45 minutes since he last talked to Shane, he can't be like, oh, I don't know where Shane is. It's his responsibility to know where Shane is, what's going on, and when he's next going to hear from him. As that breaking news editor, you're also responsible for getting that news on all of our social media accounts. And if Sean is great about sending photos remotely into Saxatech whenever he can. So whether their photos are being tweeted or whether they're being filed directly into Saxatech, you're also responsible for grabbing those, getting them to Saxatech, editing cut lines, and getting them attached to the story. You also need to put the story in web ready status. And then once it's published online, make sure you change it back to working so that the reporter knows that they can update it when they come back. You also need to add proper taxonomies and the priorities for the website. Add a Google map, and that is not always the easiest, but as close as we can. We need to get maps on there all the time. And then get that story up as soon as you can. Always, always, always making sure, of course, that we're as accurate as we possibly can be, and then update as often as you can. So on the social media part, once the story's online, you want to get it on the Herald social media accounts on Twitter and Facebook, and make sure we have a link to the article. Obviously, we want to drive page views. And then depending on the news, you may need to send a breaking news text alert or a breaking news email. Mark, do you know how to do that?
I do.
Okay, good. So the people that would be doing that know how to do it. If you are unsure what news warrants this, you can always text Amy or call me or vice versa and, bounce it off somebody. Also remember, we don't do text alerts after 9 p.m.
Or before 8 a.m. 9 p.m. and between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. we cannot send text messages.
You'll also, as a breaking news editor, you need to coordinate with that daily editor about any sort of extras that are possible for print. And so if, Mark, if you're the breaking news editor and it is a drug bust out kind of in the middle of nowhere, Shane's giving you enough to get a Google map, you want to say, hey, Sue and Cliff, we probably are going to need a locator map with this in print. And so Cliff can get started working on that before we even have the full story. So we just want to be, as fluid as we can be so that we're not, when we're filing, like, oh shit, we need X, Y, and Z, when we could have had it built in advance. Because breaking news is always on the run anyway.
Just so you know, if you're been assigned to be the breaking news editor and you've got something else going on, it's at that point that you say to somebody else, hey, other editor, take over my duties here so I can concentrate entirely on being breaking news editor.
And that said, these are the standards for what we want, but if the breaking news story and just getting the story up and the photos up, it's so big that you can't do it all. Typically there are enough people here that you could say, hey, David Buck, can you do the social media for this? I just got a new update up. And, we can share, obviously, but you are responsible for making it happen. So even if you delegate, you got to make sure it happens. So that said, how do we update a breaking news story? We've been inconsistent about this. Sometimes we do write-throughs and kind of blog story. Sometimes we totally rewrite the story. Here's our standards moving forward. And Cortez and Pine River, this is big for you guys too. We just need to make sure that we're kind of consistent as we go through here. So breaking news stories should initially be those 3 sentences and a photo from the scene of what we see or know. Most of the time we do not file stories based on scanner reports. That said, if it's big enough, then we can say according to scanner reports. I will tell you the only time I've done this is when we had 2 police officers shot. Actually, we had 3 police officers shot, 2 died. And we did post according to the scanner because it came in as officer down, and the scanner, or the woman, the dispatcher's voice broke. And we were like, this is real. So we said, officer down, we're on the way to the scene. So I really don't encourage doing that too often. That said, and then there's also, what do we not report?
We do not report people's personal information, never include suicides, never include, especially the manner of death, which we don't even put in print. and school bus. Unless it's confirmed that a school bus is included, because then you just freak out all the parents.
And let's be honest, if something happens in Cortez, in Durango, or in Bayfield, it's a matter of minutes for us to get there. Obviously, if it's in the rural area, it takes us a little bit longer, but if something's in town, we can get there pretty quickly, no matter which town we're talking about. So we have that first 3 sentences and a photo filed. So when the second update comes in, the words original report need to be put in front of the first update, and the second update needs to have the time updated, and then the report above the original. So it should look like, I believe it's on your handout. And for those of you that are dialed in, please look at my screen, because, I spelled Durango here, and I knew that was wrong too. Damn it.
I'll let you know, part of the reason we will potentially start another file with stories, which we have not done in the past. We've just updated the same thing because we don't want separate headlines. This is because when we enter contests, there are more and more contests are looking at how people report news online. And if we just keep updating the same file, we're not keeping a running file to show how we reported news online. We ran into that in trying to enter contests with our Gold King mine coverage. Well, the end result was just showing what we had for print, and we're not able to, excuse me, enter those, the contests that showed how we dealt with it online, because we wrote over all that stuff.
And that's a real bummer. And, you guys worked so hard on that too, it's just a bummer. So the other thing that this way of reporting does is, the only other thing is that it really shows our audience how often we're updating things, that we are the go-to source, and that we are continuing to stay on top of the story. So when to create a new asset, like Amy said, the full story for the next day should be filed as a separate asset so that we do preserve that live reporting. That could require some finagling a little bit on the desk at night, just making sure that the other story is unpublished when we put up the final story, or putting it in the same spot, just changing those timestamps on it so that we don't have the same story up twice. All right, so we're going to go over recording audio at the scene. So for both iPhone, yes? Talk loudly.
I know we're going to get our website updated, but how difficult? I mean, is it impossible right now to get bold?
No, we're working on it. It's coming. It's coming soon.
Bold would be really nice.
It's coming soon.
It's been in progress.
We don't have to wait for the new website.
Yeah.
It's on my list of things to do, but I have 973.
I will say the more you harass Amy about it, the more likely it is to happen.
No, probably not.
Not if she has 973 things to do first.
All right, so we're going to go over this audio. Almost everyone should have a smartphone. There is, there's a recorder on your smartphone. You can use that, worst case scenario. This is the best thing that I have ever found. And when I say I found it, I mean Sean Stanley found it, and I use it like crazy now because it's amazing. So it's an app called Voice Record Pro. It exists in for both iPhones and Androids. I believe it's free. I'm not sure if I had it before and it was free or if it is free. But what you do is you just switch it to airplane mode. You do need your headphones that came with the phone, which is kind of a bummer because not everybody has them, but look around. And so once it's on airplane mode, your headphone jack becomes a microphone jack. And when you have those original headphones that came with it, they become a microphone. And so you can either hold them, or like I do in here, I just paper clip it to myself.
So that's what you're using right now?
That's what I'm using right now. And so all you do, switch it to airplane mode, hook up your headphones that came with your phone, open your app, hit record, and then when you're done, you just hit done, and it says, hey, do you want to email this? And you email it right then and there. Obviously, you have to take it off the airplane mode before the email will go through. And then you can delete it off your phone. It's just simple. And if you're it's so fast. It's just so unbelievably fast. The audio quality is really pretty good. You know, you do need to kind of do direct. So you'll look a little goofy, maybe holding this up to Nick for an interview. But that said, even when somebody in here asks a question, within Final Cut, I'm able to amp it up enough that you can hear what they said, even though it's not quite so direct. I've been, like I said, Sean turned me onto it, and I have been thoroughly impressed with it and really, really like it. And so if you want, if you're not finding it right now on your phone, I can show you afterward what it looks like. The Android version actually has a number after it. It's not strictly Voice Record Pro, but really, really amazing audio. So if I ever do a podcast, which I'm starting to think I want to do, I'm just going to use this. So that is really it for this week. Just make sure you know the process. Make sure you know what you do when, if you're somebody that often holds multiple roles like Shane, make sure you know which role, you know, the requirements for each role, and really, really pay attention to our new process for breaking news, for updating the story, and the fact that we do need to file a new story. Those of you on the copy desk, as we do this, and you start to see things that, you know, maybe there's a really easy way to make sure both those stories don't show up online at the same time. Let me know. I'll update this. We'll get it out to everybody. So really pay attention to that kind of tricky part, because I think that is the trickiest part overall. Next week, we're going to drill into page views, time spent on site, and users, exactly what those analytics mean, and how we can use them to further our website information.